Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. We are out of the Player's Handbook, moving into the Dungeon Master's Guide, surprise, surprise, for the 2 villainous subclasses in that book. The first one we're going to cover is the Death Domain Cleric. So if you're new to the channel and to these videos, we're going to go through each of the abilities of the subclass, and then we're going to rate the RP value, combat value, and the overall class synergy, how the subclass improves on the base class.
Building the foundation, people, or building upon said foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
We're also doing the giveaway for the new Eberron book coming out soon, so to be entered in that, make sure you comment down below, let us know what you think about the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more information on that, check the description down below.
That's right.
But we're just going to jump straight into the Death Domain Cleric.
After spending all the time reading for all the wizard intros and subclasses, I'm like, what am I reading this time? Oh wait, I'm actually not. It's kind of a nice little change of pace. But you know, the 2 subclasses that are here in the Dungeon Master's Guide are both technically considered villainous class options. So both are very strongly kind of against the traditional type, against type playing kind of thing. When you think of a cleric, you're thinking, oh, life and healing and nature and joy and happiness, and death cleric. You know, it's the polar opposite of what a cleric would traditionally be. When you look at some of the domain spells you get, Ray of Sickness, Ray of Enfeeblement, Animate Dead, Vampiric Touch, Death Ward, Blight, Cloud Kill. I mean, you're doing things that are... It feels very necromancy wizard,
right? But
with like the whole like cleric behind it. It's not just like a wizard who's doing some questionable things. Like it feels like almost like a full commitment to the evil. With the death cleric for sure. You do get proficiency with martial weapons starting at level 1, so giving your cleric some more reason to be in there beating face makes sense. Also at level 1 you do get Reaper. So when you cast a necromancy cantrip, big one I think obviously is Toll the Dead out of Xanathars. It's one of the best damaging cantrips you can get, especially as a cleric. If you have 2 targets standing next to each other, you can actually target both of them. So if they're within 5 feet of each other, instead of targeting one person, you can target both if it's a necromancy cantrip. So it doesn't seem like much, kind of a niche ability, but if you do get a chance to get 2 people standing next to each other, you do get a free extra target on there for nothing else.
I think there's only 2 necromancy cantrips. I think that actually deal damage. I think there's just
Chill
Spare the Dying,
Chill
Touch, and Toll the Dead.
Toll the Dead, yeah, I think that's it. So,
yes. Then at level 2, you get a Channel Divinity, Touch of Death.
Yes.
So this one's actually pretty straightforward. Whenever you hit a creature with melee attack, you can use Channel Divinity to deal extra necrotic damage equal to 5 plus twice your cleric level.
What?
So at level 2, when you get this, you're dealing an extra 9 damage if you use that Channel Divinity ability.
Yeah, and there's no save against that. It's just you use it, just add it
to your damage. Then at level 6, we have Inescapable Destruction. Okay, so basically, a lot of the spells you're gaining from this subclass are necrotic in nature and damage. So, what better way to make that better than to have an ability that changes your spell damage and Channel Divinity damage to ignore resistance to necrotic damage.
Right.
Which is what this ability does.
Right.
Just makes your necrotic spells and damage dealings more effective.
Right.
You don't have to worry as much about people resisting damage.
Because a lot of times if you're fighting undead, especially higher CR undead, fiends, things like that, a lot of them resist necrotic damage. So if you've got a whole subclass built around doing extra necrotic damage, it's helpful to have something that says you're going to get around that resistance, essentially. A lot of clerics do get Divine Strike. A lot of subclasses of cleric, that is. And of course, this is no different. The difference is you get to do an extra D8 necrotic damage starting at level 8. Level 14, that is an extra 2d8 necrotic damage on your melee strikes. And finally, your big capstone ability is Improved Reaper. So like with your basic Reaper, this is the big one. Anytime you cast a necromancy spell that targets one target of spells level 1 through 5, if you have 2 targets standing next to each other, you can target both at no extra cost to you. So you can animate dead on 2 things. You can cast Blight on 2 things, as long as there's 2 things standing next to each other. So if you have 2 targets, that's really cool. And essentially letting you twin spell something like a sorcery whip for sorcerer points for free, but they gotta be standing right next to each other.
Right.
So,
and if it uses material components, you have to expend the material components for both targets.
So it does cost you twice as much, but you know you're gonna get it for free. A free extra spell as far as slots go.
And there's not really too many spells 1st through 5th that are going to have to worry about that with. So.
Correct. That being said, we'll get right over into the scoring section of the video, starting first with the RP portion of the ratings.
Yes, so with this subclass, it's a little bit different. It's similar, like we mentioned, to the Necromancy School of Magic for Wizards. Mm-hmm. And in a similar fashion, it does have some indirect ties to RP value, in our opinion.
True.
Just because it is kind of against type a little bit with the clerics and the way that the Channel Divinity and things work with it. That being said, we decided to give the Death Domain Cleric a 2 for the RP value, just because it has, again, it's against type, and the reason we didn't score it higher than that is because almost all the abilities are directly combat based.
Yep. Pretty much.
There were some arguments as to maybe making it lower than 2, but we felt with the way that the subclass and its uniqueness and it being a villainous class option, that it gives a little bit extra RP value just because of that, and the way as a DM or a player you would work around those difficulties, how would you say it, of running a character with a more evil-centered subclass.
With the combat side of things, definitely more interesting and definitely better. This is, like Jameson said, almost all the abilities are geared toward combat. So we ended up with a rating of 4 out of 5 flumps, getting the chance both with cantrips and your level 1 through 5 spells to have a chance to get a second target for free. Got to be standing next to each other is probably one of the big reasons why this wasn't scored higher.
Right.
But, still a really cool ability. The fact that the Channel Divinity is the big stick here that seems like something so simple. Yeah. You got to think at level 20, you're going to have 3 uses of your Channel Divinity per rest if you go that far enough into Cleric.
Yeah.
You don't, multi-class too early. So you're going to get 135 extra necrotic damage that there's no save against. It's just a flat 135 damage per rest. There's 3 uses of Channel Divinity.
Right.
That's 45 necrotic damage per use. And all you got to do is just hit them with a melee attack.
Yeah.
You don't have extra attack like some other martial, like a lot of other martial classes have, like Paladin, Barbarian, Fighter, and such. But you do get that lets you go in there and smack something really hard,
right? And
you choose when to use it. And you also get your Divine Strike helps your damage out, and most importantly, all the necrotic spells you get, getting to ignore necrotic resistance.
Yes.
Helps your kind of pigeonholed subclass from being negated, because if you didn't have that and you're fighting a bunch of stuff in your campaign that's resistant to necrotic damage, it would make you very, very lackluster.
Very sad panda.
So we end up with a 4 out of 5 flumps for combat. Solid score.
Lastly, we have the overall class synergy. This is actually kind of interesting just because the Channel Divinity option is actually pretty good when you, because it scales well with your class. As you level up, the damage actually is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like at level 20, like saying doing 45 damage extra guaranteed when you make an attack, when it hits, is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And it works well with the Channel Divinity ability of the base class.
Right.
Other things that are nice too are the inescapable destruction, how it makes that damage not resistible.
Right.
And it also, with the Divine Strikes and everything, synergizing with how your class works, we decided to give it a 3.5 on the class synergy side of things. It's solid improvements, but the main improvements are going to be coming through the Channel Divinity.
Yeah.
And being able to use it regularly just as an extra way to buff your damage, and then the extra bonuses from your necrotic damage being more reliable, I'll say that.
Yeah,
Definitely
more consistent.
Yes,
for sure.
But overall, that wraps up our opinion, I think, on the Death Domain Cleric. Pretty straightforward subclass, a little bit more unique.
Very interesting.
With the villainous thing going on here. That being said, that's it for this one, guys.
Pretty simple. Sorry, guys. I know some of these last ones have been crazy in depth, but a lot of these abilities are straightforward. So shorter video.
It's like you deal extra damage. You gain proficiency. How much to say about that?
Maybe you get some free spells.
Yeah, right. But remember, guys, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so whenever new videos come out. Don't forget about the giveaway. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and let us know down below what you guys think.
As soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers and that book comes out, both those thresholds get hit, we will raffle that sucker off.
Could be you. Share it with your friends.
That's right.
If they get the book, you can share it with them.
Yes. And you can do that.
And as always, guys,
Thanks for watching.